Hi, I'm finally getting settled down to be able to make this video about people being affected by what's happening astrologically. And normally I do readings for people for their own personal information to make informed decisions if they're facing decisions that they need to make. I, as far as fortune telling, I can do tarot readings, but this chart that was calculated for December 21st at 12 a.m., so it was at the beginning of the day, just jumped out at me because of these aspects. So I'm going to see if I can get this thing on the screen here. It's kind of wonky, but for a moment I want to draw attention to this feature right here. That symbol indicates the Virgo sign, if you will, and the moon is moving through Virgo. It usually doesn't stay in a sign for more than 2 or 3 days. But the point is that this red line here is indicating a 180 degree what we call an opposition. So this series of red lines makes what is called a grand cross. So all these planets are showing up 90 degrees from each other in what is called mutable signs. So this is a mutable grand cross. 180 degrees between these two planets, 180 degrees between these two planets, and then these planets are all forming like a box. What's important about this at this moment that I thought would be important to talk about is that the moon represents our feelings, and it also is how we reflect upon ourselves. But since this is not a personal chart, it's just a chart of the moment, what leaps out at me is that being directly opposed to Saturn puts a limit or a compression on feelings. Generally, a Virgo moon is one in which feelings are demonstrated rather than being spoken of, okay? And Saturn is living at the moment in Pisces. And Pisces deals a lot with illusions and delusions, imprisonment, insanity, drug addiction, but it also is highly spiritual at the same time. So it's kind of like those two fishes pulling against each other, this nebulous realm of brilliant creativity and spirituality, but at the same time, it's fleeting, or it's hard to get a handle on. It's very nebulous. So for Saturn to show up in a sign like that is it's like a limiter, a controller, like put a lid on it or give it some structure. So with the moon in Virgo liking to be perfect and hygienic, that sort of thing. Um, it's telling me a lot. That, well, the other aspect that I wanted to point out with the square is this square between the moon and Mercury. Mercury rules communication and speech, especially if it's in its home sign of Gemini. Gemini is I think. And it also rules Virgo, where the moon is. So there's, in this Grand Cross, there's a lot of like correspondences. They're the ruler of Gemini is Mercury, and it's opposing Jupiter in Gemini. Jupiter normally rules Sagittarius. It's like they switched roles. They switched to each other's home sign. And for there to be a square, which is another hard aspect, it's forcing things. What it's telling me is that there's a lot of pent-up feelings. And what they're pent up about is being indicated by Pluto in Aquarius. Aquarius has been telling us about the advent of technology, basically. And everybody's been hearing, that musical where there's a song called The Age of Aquarius, where everything is just wonderful. And no, The Age of Aquarius is about discovery. It's about innovation and technology, right? But what I was trying to express is that there is the ability to be able to communicate with all this technology is being stifled. I don't know if it's basically about communicating through electronic means, but it does seem that with Pluto in Aquarius being opposed by Mars in Leo, that there is a tension as far as like taking action in an outward way, in a public way. And the thing that leaps to mind at this time is all these people that are coming out creating a hero out of a man who, out of the blue, decides to assassinate somebody who appears to be in power. And it's just like breaking open a festering wound in many people's feelings that something had to be done. And that's, I think, was his quote. Something had to be done. And I was like, oh my, why, who appointed him to do this thing? So the helplessness of the average person against this huge wall of technology that is separating them from being even able to have control over their own health, i.e. health insurance, being denied insurance, being denied access to medicine or treatments that are deemed necessary for individuals to live. I don't even know if the modern medicine can even claim to make people healthy. It's not health care. It's sick care. Trying to outlive decaying bodies or what have you.
there's too much tied up with access. That I heard that these large insurers, our health insurance companies, have delegated their decision making to artificial intelligence, being the major reason that these companies are denying people benefits or coverages that are supposed to be part of the contract for them to get the premiums, enriching these CEOs. There was some controversy about anesthesia payments that came out right after this assassination happened. So I don't know if this person, Mangione, is connected, if you will, but Mars being in Leo, he does seem to live large. I've heard that he comes from wealth, and so possibly he feels somewhat invincible. That would be Mars in Leo, right? He's a soldier. He's connected. So if he's being a hitman, it's pretty wild. It's like, nonetheless, my purpose for talking about this mutable Grand Cross is that it is sort of fleeting. It's not going to last for very long, but it is kind of like an opening up of the threshold of people being able to speak about the frustrations that they've had with this wall of, this just a wall that's keeping them from experiencing, I don't know if you want to call it a bedside manner, where the insurance companies are telling the doctors how to practice medicine, basically. And the doctors cannot make a move without the insurance companies. But at the bottom of all of this, I posted a video that was created for educational purposes or entertainment purposes, discussing how, cutting off the head of the Hydra is not going to kill it. The head of the insurance company, that one insurance company, doesn't kill it, because it's a decapitization. The dark underbelly is that all these insurance companies and investment firms own interest in each other. So there's nobody that, like I think it was President Truman that has a little sign on their desk saying the buck stops here. There's nobody. There is no head to this Hydra. And that is what's creating a lot of rage and a lot of frustration, being voiceless. The voices are being suppressed, but now this temporary arrangement in the planets in the sky is enabling people to give voice to their rage. It's not going to last for very long because of the two major players in this Grand Cross are very quick-moving planets. They move pretty quickly. What will persist, though, is the opposition of Mars against Pluto. Mars in Leo opposing Pluto in Aquarius. That's going to persist as an opposition for a couple of weeks. So the pressure is on. The strikeout, taking action, but also, I guess, lethal action, Leo puts a spotlight. It can't be hidden. There's no hidden agenda. Whereas Pluto is a ruler of the underworld, and I just can't help it when I see an underworld figure in the sign of Aquarius, which is technology and science and electricity and all that kind of thing. It's so tied up with this recent scenario that's been splashed all over the media. But like I said, this Hydra has many heads. And, chopping off one of them, 6 more will grow in its place. So we've got a brief yelp of injustice and an anti-hero, if you will, but it's not going to last. Being able to speak about it or even think about it is an aspect of the Mercury in Sagittarius. Now, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, but Jupiter is in Gemini, which is normally ruled by Mercury. So Mercury is opposing Jupiter in its home sign. It's squaring off against the moon in its other ruler sign, Virgo. And Virgo is about hygiene. Very concerned about hygiene. So, I haven't been doing this very long as far as like looking at things that are concerned with events, but I am inviting people who want to have a personal reading, whether it has to do with their own astrological aspects, transits, or even a psychic reading, to be able to see how these energies can be used to their advantage. How it may be a lever for them to be able to, make their selves heard or hear from voices that they haven't been willing to listen to before. So I appreciate you giving me a little bit of your time. This is going to be one of many videos that I'm calling the 12 Days of Christmas. Between December 25th and January 6th, we'll be going over these different aspects that are happening and some historical stuff about the changes in astrology that would indicate this midpoint of the darkest period of the year, leading into the light, but we're not out of the depths yet. So you can go to my website, Chiron Therapeutics, request a consultation.